Come back here, you ceratopsid, cousin of the triceratops. Isn't this fun? We're learning about dinosaurs and fossils and, most importantly, Mary Anning. This book by Debora Savvas is so interesting. Don't you think? She was an explorer, she was a discoverer, she was a researcher, she was a scientist. Before there were girl scientists. So if you're a girl watching this, you can. We're getting into lesson 3. We're going to read it. Sit back, relax. The time has come. Lesson 3. Mary Anning, the girl who cracked open the world. Yes! Let's go.
When Henry de la Beche moved into town, people said to Mary,
"You should meet Henry. He's very curious, just like you, and he also loves rocks and fossils."
After they met, Henry and Mary spent hours together talking about science. Henry's clothes were more expensive than Mary's. He didn't have to work for a living and sell fossils, the way Mary did. Henry and Mary were very different, but they didn't care. They were too busy becoming good friends and sharing ideas with each other. Later, Henry helped Mary out when her family ran into trouble. Selling fossils was hard work, and sometimes the people who had money to buy curios weren't interested in Mary's things. Henry came up with a plan to help Mary make money. First, he made a watercolor drawing of Mary's creatures as they would have looked in ancient times when they were alive. His drawing was so real-looking that Mary felt as if she could step into the world he had created. Henry took his drawing and arranged to have copies made. Other people liked the drawing as much as Mary did. The money that came from selling the copies was given to Mary and her family, and something else good happened. People wanted to know more about the creatures in the drawings, and Mary's name was mentioned because she knew these animals from the inside out. Mary's good friend Henry had helped her in many ways she didn't expect. Even before Henry helped her, Mary had made some very important discoveries. One day, as she stood by the cliffs, Mary spotted something new. It looked like a bone, maybe a skull. Was it another ichthyosaur? Mary scraped away the rock and found a creature she'd never seen before. It had a long neck, a tiny round head, and legs that were shaped like paddles. The creature looked so odd that some people thought it was made up and not real. Its skeleton, they said, must have been put together using the bones of a sea snake and an ichthyosaur. Mary was furious when she heard what people were saying about the skeleton she had discovered. She knew fossils and she knew what she had found, but some people weren't convinced until a group of scientists had spoken out. The scientists had found parts of creatures that looked the same as the skeleton Mary had found. Those creatures were called plesiosaurs. The scientists knew fossils and they knew what they had found. Everyone believed them when they said Mary's plesiosaur was real and not made up. This time, when people asked,
"Who found this creature?"
Mary's name was mentioned. She was becoming famous for the fossils she had found. Scientists sent letters to her. They asked her questions about her discoveries, and then they waited eagerly for Mary to write back to them. Now, when Mary hurried through town, visitors stopped and stared. They said to each other,
"There goes that woman who found all those strange creatures. What do you think she's going to find next?"